Welcome to ADU Point, a video series dedicated to accessory dwelling units. Hi, my name's Will Johnson. I'm a renovation loan consultant and ADU advisor. We're excited about accessory dwelling units. The new ordinances in 2020 has really removed a lot of major barriers. Combine that with financing. This will really empower homeowners to develop affordable housing for loved ones or create an attractive income stream. That's the good news, but there is a tale of caution. This is a complex, dynamic, evolving process. Selection of resources are critical. We've learned a lot with every ADU that we've built. So we'll interview key experts and ask probing questions around ADUs. We'll talk to architects, contractors, builders, interior designers. We'll also talk to financial specialists to understand the best financing that meets your needs. We're committed to advancing your ideas into action. So connect with us and get all of your questions answered. So let's get started. Today we're going to talk to an interior designer. A lot of ideas come to my mind in terms of special conditions for interior designs for accessory dwelling units. So I wanted to bring in an expert. I wanted to introduce Kristen Krebs, and I've come to know her because she's actually paid attention to the ADU market. I believe you're still a part of the ADU coalition, and I know you have some affiliations with tiny homes. So I think this is just perfect for you to join us today and maybe give us a little more insight in terms of how you approach interior designs to accessory dwelling units. So thank you, Kristen, for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
So Kristen, tell us a little bit more about your interior design certification process and your whole approach to accessory dwelling units.
Certainly. So I am a certified interior designer. So that basically means that I took the IDEX exam, which is kind of similar to the way that an architect takes his exam to become an architect. So I have a lot of different diverse background in design. I've worked in model home design, I've done high-end residential design, kitchen and bath design, and pretty much everything in between. So
how long have you been in business?
I have been an interior designer for 12 years, and I've had my own business for 5.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. The important thing about interior design is that to create better spatial function. So while you need an architect to build the exterior of your home, you also want to consider the interior of your home, especially in small spaces like an ADU or a tiny home, because the interior design portion of the design process is extremely important. It is very limited on what you can and can't do within a space. So the placement of windows inside the home, you definitely want to consider where those are going to go, especially based around where the furniture is going to sit in the space, and as well as door swings, things like that. So that's something to consider when talking about small spaces.
How about storage?
Yeah, storage is very important. So you definitely want to consider furniture items that have storage, and then of course you definitely want to consider built-ins, whether that be maybe you can utilize some attic space, or if you could utilize some cabinetry storage spacing. There's a lot of different options there. So yeah, there's a couple other things you may want to consider when working on an ADU or a small space. Definitely don't forget about the indoor-outdoor experience. It's definitely very important because these small spaces, will feel a little bit smaller if you don't include the outdoor space. So something you definitely want to address. For instance, in this photo here, this is kind of a great example of being able to create an indoor-outdoor experience. It almost makes the space feel a lot larger too. And then of course you want to choose lighter colored paints because the space is smaller. So if you do darker paint finishes, it's actually going to make the room feel a little bit smaller as well. And then, of course, lighting. You want to consider your lighting. Definitely energy efficient options, and you want to probably add dimmers, especially being small spaces. Lighting is going to be important. You want to be able to see into those nooks and crannies. And then we kind of talked a little bit about doors and windows. So you definitely want to make sure that they're placed correctly. And then, of course, kitchens and baths is where you're going to want the most amount of storage options.
Sounds good.
Oh, and this is a photo of my ADU. So I actually live in this unit right now. So yeah, there's definitely for some storage solutions that I've come up with. I have some underbed storage
Mm.
happening in that image there, and then my coffee table actually converts into a dining table as well, um,
Oh,
which is nice because it can also kind of create a little bit of an office space. It's not exactly the most ergonomical space, but it works. Actually, you can kind of see the photo right behind me. It's the same photo in that image.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
And then, of course, the kitchen, you want lots of storage for the kitchen, lots of pots and pans, spices. And then you can even utilize your kitchen cabinetry and kind of convert that into additional spacing for like an office. So you could even have the double cabinets that open. You can have a pull-out desk space. So then that way it's a little more ergonomical than where I currently use, which is my sofa.
So one of the other concepts that, we were talking about storage, and I know you and I've talked about this before, is sometimes you need to think about seasonal storage and what we do with maybe some equipment like surfboards and bicycles and other things like that. And you almost have to have some kind of outdoor auxiliary storage, just for storage purposes, but also for seasonal. And I know that's something you and I have talked about in the past.
Yeah, yep. And you can also utilize, ceiling space as well, at
Oh,
least to hang stuff like a surfboard. Surfboards are pretty flat, so at least you can kind of mount that to the ceiling. But a bike, yeah, you definitely might want to consider maybe storing that outside, whether that be hanging from a device that you've, built into the space, or, for instance, with me, I have a small little storage unit right outside my ADU.
I think with this day and age, I think we are going to have a whole different attitude about office space. I know me personally, I've had to change because of my longer working hours in my home office. I really had to change the ergonomics. I'm looking at stand-up types of desks now, just because, I'm having back problems with, the ergonomics I have in my office space. And I've had to go back and reevaluate how I approach my office. There's two of us here and we're full-time working at home. And I just don't know if, I think that's probably something we should probably anticipate going forward, is just a whole more serious attitude about office space.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, especially after the whole COVID-19 pandemic happened, I think it's definitely very important to consider home office space because I think a lot of people are probably going to start to work from home more.
You know,
So yeah, definitely either spaces that can convert into other spaces. For instance, like my coffee table converts into my dining table. Furniture that has multifunction like that, but definitely also ergonomics. And the chair is honestly the most important part of an office space.
oh,
That's where that's where the ergonomics really takes into consideration. That and your keyboard location. You don't want your desk too high
yeah,
and you don't want it too low. So definitely some things to consider when designing a home office space as well. Yeah.
yeah. Well, thanks again, Kristen. What's the best way of getting a hold of you?
You can reach out to me through my website. It's kristenkrebsinteriors.com, as you can see right there. And then,
Great.
of course, I am also on Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest.
Oh, good. Great. Okay, well, we have just a couple of more resources for you. I actually manage an ADU Facebook group, and I would really encourage all of you to sign up and join. You'll have access to a lot of professionals. We are beginning to see people really beginning to post questions on the Facebook group. Kristen's a part of it, so she's there ready to answer questions. Share your projects. It's a great place to network. And then secondly, I also manage a lot of resources on my renovation page. So SD203K also has a lot of information about accessory dwelling units. We have stored all of the pre-approved floor plans on there. There's a whole process in helping identify which best financing might suit your needs out there, so we can assist you with that. We have a lot of updates of all of the wonderful ordinances that went into effect in 2020. So feel free to utilize that to get any of your questions answered. And, you know, again, Kristen, thanks so much for your participation today. We look forward to working with you in the future. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.